Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. Here are 3 tips to make your Trance Plucks sound even better than they already do, and you're going to want to stick around for the third and final tip because this is one of my favourite things to do with a Trance Pluck. It just gives it so much texture and character into the sound. And straight on to tip number 1, we're going to look at envelopes and the relationship between envelopes and the filter to start with. This is a very standard practice in the world of plucks, but let's just cover it to make sure that you can see everything that is happening. If you get this problem where it is bidirectional, we can right click and change that, or we can head to the matrix and hit type so it is unidirectional. Once we have that set up, you can choose how much that filter opens depending on the shape of that pluck on the envelope number 2. And we can use, in this particular synth, the drive and fatness to really drive that sound home. Is to make sure that the sustain is at 0 and then shape the decay to your desired place. So you can see here envelope number 2 is controlling the filter, and the shape of that is full volume to 0 volume in about half a second, if not a little bit shy of half a second, which is creating a very sharp opening of the filter and then a very quick close down. And we've determined the length of that opening from where we have set the cutoff there, and then we've used the drive and fat to boost up the sound. Moving on to tip number 2, we're now going to use the same shape but in envelope number 3, so let's just recreate that. You can already see the shadow of the previous envelope, and we are going to attach this to effects. So tip number 2 is utilising effects with an envelope to enhance your pluck. We're going to demonstrate this with distortion, and we're going to use the tube feature here. So I'm just going to change this round to high pass, like so. So we're just chopping off some of the lower frequencies so it makes it a little bit easier to hear. Okay, so we've now made our desired distortion effect. I'm going to turn the mix down so we have no influence from the distortion whatsoever. We're going to use envelope 3 to do exactly what we did with the filter, but we're going to attach it to the mix of our drive from the distortion. Now you can see it's modulating this really fast, and it's opening and closing not too fast at the moment, so we want to sharpen that up. So we're just going to sharpen this curve. The rest of the sound becomes intact, and just the transient starts to get the treatment. Again, head to the matrix and make sure that we're on unidirectional, not bidirectional, so it's going both ways, it's just going the one way. There's our original sound. And we can get very creative with this. We can use any of the effects. Depending on what you're trying to create, we can create some very interesting textures. Again, add envelope 3 to any sort of mix knob or parameter that will utilize the effect. We can hear we're influencing the sound, the attack of the sound initially with the reverb, and then the reverb's cutting straight off, and it's just giving that texture onto the front. This would soften your transient, but this would sharpen your transient, so there are different methods for creating softer and harder pluck sounds. And our third and final tip, which is one of my favourite things to do to give some real nice character and softness to the sound, is using an LFO and the fine tune. So we're going to round off the LFO number 1 here, and we're going to turn off the BPM sync so we can control the speed manually with this. And what we'll do is attach the LFO to the fine tune, and you'll see the results. And just adding that little bit of modulation onto the fine tune starts to delve into the world and realms of analog style sounds, and it just gives you a more natural feel and takes that sharpness and that edge off. Especially with Serum sounding very digital and very cold at the beginning, we can start to morph these sounds into a lot nicer sounding presets. And again, on the effects here, if we just go to envelope number 3, and I'm just going to detach our envelope there, and we're just going to use some of this to just add a little bit of niceties to the sound. And then if we go in here and we'll play something. And if we go here and just remove the bypass the modulation here for a second. Very straight, it's very normal. And if we add this back in. We get a more natural sound, and it sounds a little bit more personal. It has an intimate feeling rather than having that really straight digital harshness to it. This works great on longer plucks as well, and we can get more creative with longer pluck sounds. So if we turn the filter off here and just have the influence of the main envelope, and we're going to open this envelope up a little bit, open its release. So now we have this. And what we can do is delay this effect here. So I'm going to increase this a little bit so it's really drastic and we can hear the effects of it. Now that we've added extra modulation in there so we can hear it, it sounds a little bit OTT. What we can do is put a delay on there. So let's put a second delay. You can hear it's straight and then it starts applying the modulation, but it's very linear. It just turns it on and gives you that kind of full effect instantly. What we can do is use the rise knob here. So let's say take 1.5 seconds to rise. And you'll get a nice smooth transition into that. And that really does create extra interest into the sound and makes it sound more natural. And you start jumping into the territory of more analog sounding presets. And that brings us to the end of the top 3 tips for making better trance plucks. Which one was your favourite? Let me know down in the comments. It'd be interesting to see which ones you already use, or if you use them all, let us know. If you haven't used any and you're just getting into sound design, feel free to let us know. We're all here to help and obviously share our information. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.